Imagine a jungle, not just any jungle, but a tropical forest on the Yucatan Peninsula, where the humidity is as thick as a blanket and the sound of life echoes from every direction. Under this dense canopy, hidden beneath carpets of vines and roots, lie the ruins of an empire. This is Cobá, a city of almost unimaginable scale, connected by dozens of miles of white limestone roads, uncanny straight-line declarations of power that cut through the jungle. We are standing in a center of power, a force that once shook the Mayan world. But there is something strange. While its scale and wealth are undeniable, Cobá's history is bafflingly silent. The stories of the people who built it, the great minds who engineered those roads, the leaders who commanded its armies, seem to have been erased. We know it was powerful, but we don't know who made it powerful. This is the mystery we are here to investigate. A journey not just deep into the jungle, but deep into our own biases about the past. Because to truly understand the importance of what was found at Cobá, we must first intentionally dismantle the wall of what we think we know. What is the popular image of the Maya? It is a world of brilliant astronomers perched atop temples, of warlike kings in splendid feathered costumes, a society obsessed with mystical cycles of time and the worship of bloodthirsty gods. And at the center of this epic story, always, are men. We know their names. We celebrate their deeds. Kinich Janab Pakal of Palenque, the builder of the great tomb. Jasao Chan Kaawil, the first of Tikal, who crushed his rivals. Siaj Kaak, the conqueror from Teotihuacan. Their names, their victories, and their alliances are proudly carved on thousands of stelae, ceremonial stairways, and exquisite pottery. For decades, Mayan history, as told in textbooks and museums, has been fundamentally a chronicle of patriarchal power. It is a story of warriors and kings, and women. In the ancient texts, their roles were often clearly defined and painfully limited. They were Ix-Aja, lady or noblewoman. They were important, that is undeniable, but their value was often measured by the bloodlines and alliances they carried. They were the aristocratic mothers of future kings, the ones who gave those kings their legitimate royal blood. They were the princesses married off in strategic maneuvers, high-class pawns on a complex geopolitical chessboard, sent from Calakmul to Naranjo, or from Tikal to Yaxquilan, to seal fragile treaties. They were the bearers of royal blood, but rarely the wielders of the sword. They were symbols, not marshals. Of course, history is never absolute. There are always exceptions, cracks in the uniform wall. We know of Lady Six Sky, Ixhuachan Ajao, who ruled Naranjo with an iron fist. But even her story is shrouded in the limitations of her time. She came from Dos Pilas as a princess and appears to have ruled as regent for her young son. She took on military titles, she stands on humiliated captives in sculptures, but her power was still understood through the lens of motherhood. It was a regency, a temporary replacement for the male power that would soon come of age. And this was the framework, the lens, through which archaeologists and epigraphers have viewed the past for decades. We find what we are taught to look for, and for a very long time, we found nothing else. This set a trap of perception, a trap that the ancient city of Cobá would eventually shatter. Cobá was not like other Mayan cities. While the superpowers of the southern lowlands, like Tikal and Calakmul, were entering their terminal decline in the late Classic period, Cobá in the northern Yucatan was exploding with energy and influence. It was a sprawling metropolis spread over a vast area, linked together by an astonishing transportation network, white limestone roads called Sac-Biob. These roads were not winding paths. They were wide, arrow-straight, planned causeways, a marvel of engineering and social organization. They radiated out from the city center, piercing the dense jungle, connecting Cobá to distant satellite towns and ceremonial centers. This network was an unmistakable statement of power. It showed a centralized vision, a robust economy that could support massive public works, and the ability to command a vast labor force. This was the mark of a powerful, tightly managed state. However, the history of this mighty powerhouse was written on a treacherous material. The limestone in the Cobá region is of a much poorer quality than that found in Kaloomte or Cobá. It is softer, more porous, and far more vulnerable to the ravages of time. Add to that the high humidity, the torrential seasonal rains, and the relentless growth of tree roots and vines, and the result is that many of Cobá's inscriptions were transformed into ghosts on stone. They are eroded, faded, and often broken into countless pieces. What scholars have been able to piece together and decipher has, until now, been fragmented, incomplete king lists with century-long gaps. We knew Cobá was powerful, but we didn't truly know who made it powerful. This silence was an open invitation to imagination, but a great challenge to historical truths. And then, at some point in our very near future, our story truly begins. An international team of researchers returns to a little studied sector of Cobá, a modest cluster of structures near the shore of Lake Makangsok. Here, amidst the ruins, lies a collection of stone monuments. They are in a catastrophic state. Many are broken into multiple pieces. Others are so eroded that their surfaces look more like the grain of a river stone. For years, they were classified by archaeologists as unreadable. They were considered a tragic loss, a part of history permanently destroyed. But this team did not come with traditional tools. They did not just have brushes and trowels. They brought machines. They brought structured light scanners and an advanced technology called reflectance transformation imaging, or RTI. Imagine this technology as a superpower. RTI doesn't just take a single photograph. Instead, it captures hundreds, even thousands of photos of the same object, each one lit from a slightly different micro angle. Then, a powerful computer algorithm combines all these images, creating a manipulable digital map of the surface. This allows researchers to move a virtual light source around the object on their computer screen. Think of holding a flashlight and raking it across a rough wall in the dark. Only when the light is almost parallel to the wall do the tiniest grooves and bumps pop out, casting long shadows and revealing their true shape. RTI is essentially doing that, but with perfect precision and infinite magnification. It brings to life what was dead, and that is exactly what happened. The team selected a particularly hopeless-looking stone, catalogued by previous archaeologists as Stela 24. To the naked eye, it was just a rock with random dents and bulges, a surface worn by time into meaninglessness. There were no obvious signs of hieroglyphs. But they proceeded. They set up the equipment, captured the hundreds of images, and took the data back to their digital lab. And then, as they loaded the file and began to drag that virtual light source across the screen, a miracle happened. From the digital darkness, lines began to emerge. Shallow curves, barely there scratches, suddenly gained depth and contrast. It was as if an invisible hand was rewriting the message in ink made of shadow and light. And then Elena, the team's epigrapher, began to read. For the first time in over a millennium, a human voice spoke from the void. She found a long count date. The bars and dots were surprisingly clear, placing the text firmly in Cobá's golden age, around the 7th or 8th century AD. Then she found a familiar title, a power phrase. Divine Lord of Cobá. This was the standard royal title, the core of kingship. But then she stopped. Her eyes narrowed, focusing on a cluster of glyphs just before the name. There was something there, a glyph she knew very well. It was the face of a woman, decorated with a distinct mark on her cheek. It was the prefix X. It was the sign for female. The name that followed was Ixchak-Chin, a queen, a ruler, not the wife of a king, not the mother of a king. Her name stood alone, directly before the title Divine Lord. She was the supreme ruler. Instantly, this discovery was earth-shattering. It brought a woman from the shadows of history into the central seat of power at one of the largest cities in the Mayan world. But the full, truly shocking truth was yet to be revealed. To the right of the main text block, there was another column of glyphs in even worse condition. It didn't just look eroded. It looked as if it had been deliberately destroyed, systematically chiseled away. Even with the magic of RTI, it was a nearly indecipherable mess. Elena spent weeks on this single passage, a meticulous process like digital neurosurgery. She used different contrast filters, ran statistical analyses on micro-curve patterns, trying to piece together fragments of a puzzle that had been torn apart, burned and soaked in water. And then, in a moment of intense focus, she found it. One word, a title. A title that, when she recognized it, must have made her heart stop. Her mind would have rejected it. It could not be right. It could not exist in this context. The word was Kaloomte. Now we must stop here. We have to understand the terrifying weight of this word. The ancient Maya world was not a unified empire like Rome. It was much like ancient Greece, a patchwork of competing, conflicting city-states. Each city had a king, an Ajah. But sometimes, one city would rise up, becoming vastly superior to the others. Superpowers like Tikal and Calakmul would conquer their neighbors, not by annexing territory, but by making their kings into vassals. To mark this absolute superiority, a new title emerged, Kaloomte. Translated simply, it means supreme overlord or even emperor. But its meaning is deeper. Its origins appear to be rooted in warfare. It means general of generals, warrior of warriors. It was the absolute peak of the Maya political pyramid. It was the highest, rarest, and most masculine-coded title. It belonged to the men who built dynasties, who commanded the largest armies, whose authority extended far beyond their own city walls. It was an exclusive boys' club, a symbol of ultimate power and military domination. And now, Elena was staring at that very title, carved right next to the name Ixchak-Chin, a queen who was not just an Ajah, she was a Kaloomte. This combination was not merely rare, it was unprecedented, it was unsinkable. It did not just break the mold, it pulverized the mold into dust. It meant that a woman in the 7th or 8th century had not just ruled the largest city in the Yucatan. She had been a military overlord. She had commanded the armies of Cobá. She had waged campaigns. She had forced other kings, perhaps those of the satellite cities, connected by her own vast network of Sac-Biop, to bow to her. She was not just a ruler, she was a general, she was an empress. This discovery immediately opened 1,000 new questions, and the most urgent one was, why have we never heard of her? How could a figure so powerful and so groundbreaking simply vanish from the historical record? The answer, in a painful irony, was lying right there on the stone. The block of text containing the Kaloomte title was not just eroded by rain and wind. It had been deliberately destroyed. It had been systematically chiseled away. These were not random marks. They were intentional. We were looking at the physical proof of a historical assassination, a damnatio memoriae, a condemnation of memory. Someone, at some point in the past, had ordered that Ixchak-Chin and her legacy must be erased. The question is why? Why would they do it? The most logical theory is also the most profound. She was not erased because she was a failed ruler. She was erased precisely because she was dangerously successful. A female Kaloomte was a reality that was too subversive, too dangerous, too capable of overturning the established social and ideological order. Imagine a king who succeeded her, perhaps a nephew or a member of a different branch of the royal family, who wanted to consolidate his own power. He would want to re-establish what he saw as the natural order of things, a patriarchal order where ultimate power belonged to men. The very existence of a precedent like Ixchak-Chin, a woman who had not just ruled but conquered, was an existential threat to his legitimacy. It proved eloquently that the patriarchal order was not unique, not eternal, and not divinely ordained. So a campaign of sanitization was launched. Not a massive destruction which can create martyrs, but a more meticulous, bureaucratic edit. They ground her name from the stele. They chiseled away that embarrassing Kaloomte title. On other monuments, ones we may not have found or which are lost forever, they may have carved a male king's name over hers. They rewrote history, one character at a time, until the greatest Empress General of Cobá was no longer a historical fact, but just a blank space, a baffling silence. And they almost succeeded. They succeeded for 13 centuries. They fooled all of us. They turned a brilliant leader into an archaeological mystery, an unreadable stone in a forgotten jungle. But they made a mistake. They missed a stone. They didn't chisel deep enough. They could never have dreamed that in a distant future, a new generation of curious people would come. They would not bring hammers and chisels. They would bring light. They would bring machines that could shoot lasers and read the faintest shadows of the truth, the whispers left behind on the stone. Therefore, the discovery of Queen Ixchak-Chin, the Kaloomte of Cobá, goes far beyond just adding a new name to a lost list. It forces us to re-examine our entire historical framework. It is undeniable proof that power, leadership, and military genius in the ancient world were not the exclusive domain of one gender. It shows us that history is not a finished book, frozen in time. It is a living text, one that is constantly being rewritten and, most importantly, constantly being deciphered. And it is a powerful, tragic reminder. Sometimes, the most important stories, the truths with the power to change the world, are not the ones shouted from the tops of pyramids. They are the ones that were whispered, the ones that were ground down, the ones patiently waiting in the darkness of oblivion. They wait for a new light, a new curiosity, and a new willingness to see what has been there all along, hidden in plain sight. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much.